Okay, Bluetti just showed up at the door. It's the PS54, which is the newest version of the Bluetti. Well, the PS54 is basically EB55. Now, the EB55 is no longer made. It's replaced by a newer model in 2024. Well, Bluetti has all these parts left over, so what they did was that they incorporated all these parts left over from the EB55 and they put it in a slightly different case. They gave a new model number, the PS54. Now, you can only buy the PS54 on eBay or through a third-party link on sites such as Walmart and Newegg.com. So you'll be getting the PS54 for one half the price of the EB55. So it's a good value for people that's just getting introduced into the solar generator field and they don't care about having something that was from the last generation technology. So most people, that's just this as a power backup system. It doesn't matter. Last generation is just as good as this generation for light usage. And now let's get on with my actual review of the PS54. I already cut the tape open, so I don't want to bore you with that. You see, this came directly from Bluetti, made for the American market, 120 volts. This thing is pretty heavy. I'll go over the specs with you once I get this thing out of the box. It comes double boxed, which is nice. This is what's inside this thing. Keep this box in 15 different languages. So you gotta return the unit with this box. Looks like they got some sort of quality control. Now, you know, Bluetti is a pretty solid company. They've been around since 2016. Now, warranty registration. I purchased it from them direct, so they have me on file. User's manual. Let's see if they got anything here. Yeah, it gives you mostly specifications. Okay, we'll figure that out once we get this playing with this thing. They pack it pretty good. I think these are all your cords. That's what kind of cords they give you to work with. Wow. Nice hefty charging brick. Now some of the new units have the charger built in, so you don't need a brick, but then it's going to make the unit heavier and bigger. So, and if you're not going to use this, then why have the extra size and weight? I can see the reason, pros and cons, on why you need a charging brick. It's a nice big size one and it's 200 watts. More importantly, here's the cables. This is a solar cable, MC4 to XT60F connector. If you use the Bluetti solar panel, naturally it's going to be just fit right in. Otherwise, you may need an adapter to go from this to a Anderson or barrel connector. But pretty nice, pretty hefty connector here, 16 gauge. DC charger, plug into your car. Same connector as a solar charger. Kind of plug. Okay, cable strap. Let's get this thing up. Weighs about 17 pounds. It's got nice handles on top, which is nice. Handles fold down, which gives you a flat surface, so you can stack things on it. But more importantly, it gives you a wireless 15-watt output for your phone there. So that's handy. A lot of these don't have a wireless for your phone. Here we have our DC connectors. This is for your car charging. So it's got the car charger plug type that goes in here. This is your outputs. Got two barrel connectors. USB-C, 100 watts, which is nice. Pretty good power, so it can power up your laptops. You got two banks of USB-A, 5 volts, 3 amps. So each one can handle 3 amps. So you got 6 amps total here. Here's our AC output side. We got 4 AC connectors. 2 of them got the dummy plugs on it, so if you got a 3-prong, it goes right in. Then input, this is that XC60 connector that goes in for the car. And this is your AC right here. So this is solar and car, and this is your AC. And you could dual charge at the same time. So, you got 200 watts here, 200 watts here, so you got 400 watt input. This thing is not waterproof or dustproof. It's got charge in it. Let's see what they give you. Well, not bad. They give you 80% charge. So, you're all set to go once you get this thing. It's got a nice bright display. As you can see in the back, we got a diffused light. So it's not a spotlight, so this is great for camping, So if you're camping, it's going to give you a nice even light around versus the flashlight spotlight type. Fan on one side, fan on the other side, so it's going to be push-pull like anything else. It's going to pull the air in and out, so it's going to cool off your inverter. And this guy is rated at, it's got a 700 watt inverter and it's 537 watt hour battery capacity. So this is the PS54. So Bluetti has two models, the PS54 and the PS72. The 72's got the same inverter, but the battery's got more capacity. And currently right now, the PS72 runs about $60 more than this. So if you need an extra capacity, that's fine, but it's going to be a bigger, larger, heavier unit naturally. This is more compact and portable, and this size suits what we're going to be using it for. Now, when I purchased from Bluetti, they had a Halloween special where, let me get this thing out. It's almost like Christmas opening up these things. They give you a nice a carrying case for this. This carrying case goes for about $40, so they include a free, as it is a limited time special if you purchase this unit. And it's, let's see. Oh, it's a nice heavy duty unit. Well, it's got to be to hold that thing. Oh. So it's got a shoulder strap. Let's see. Let's see that it fits perfectly. Drop the handles down. You got a pad here that you can place on top so you don't scratch up the unit. Then you can throw your DC charger on it. You could probably throw all your cables in it on top of it too, but they have the net here for the cables. And you got room for other accessories that you may buy for this thing. It's got a dual zipper on top, which is nice, so you don't have to go all around. And you meet halfway. They got pockets up front, so this is big enough for a tablet or your cell phone. Looks like they got pockets on the side for maps, compasses, water bottles. And you can pick it up this, or you can add the shoulder strap. So let's see how sturdy this is. Well, it's made for this unit, so pretty sturdy, pretty handy, and kudos for Bluetti for actually giving this as a bonus for buying the PS54 or the 72. And for the pricing and for the value and for what this thing does, it's a no-brainer. We'll be doing another video of me hooking this thing up to what we're actually going to be using this for, is to keep our trickle chargers alive, and that'll be on the next video. Sounds like in our home, nothing on. You can see we're below 60 dBs, so pretty quiet. I'm gonna plug in the power brick now. We'll test out this fan noise. Fan noise is on. I got the meter directly on the fan. Okay, it's reading 58 dBs right on top of the fan. Now let's see what happens if we walk away, about 6 feet away. See, we're below 50 dBs, so yeah, you can hear the fan, but it's not obnoxious at all. I thought it was going to be obnoxious the way I heard people talk about the noise of the fan. So we're below 50 dBs and we're just 6-7 inches away from it. Now what I'm going to do is, let's turn on this AC first. Okay, we got the AC on. We have a tea kettle here that puts out 832 watts, so we'll turn it on. Now we hear the Bluetti on too. So let's just stick it right in the middle between the two. Running right about 60 dBs and we're within 6-7 inches away. Let me go backwards. Let's go back 6 feet away and let's see what this thing is doing. Looks like about 52 dBs at 6 feet away or less. Okay, so we got both units running and it's going on high. So let's see what it's saying. 59 dBs and we're about a foot away at the loudest point. So this power brick is 25.5 volts at 8 amps, so it's going to put out a little more than the 200 watts, and it's feeding everything into this thing, so it's charging up. As you can see, the noise is not that loud. I mean, if you're sleeping inside of a tent, it's white noise, so it's not going to bother you too much. Your mind gets used to white noise pretty quickly, and you're going to fall asleep with it. But let's turn the AC back on, and turn the kettle on. Now here's what's interesting. Look, note that we're drawing 774 watt hours on a 700 watt hour. Power supply is a constant 52 dB white noise. 6 feet away, it's pretty much zero. I want to show you something interesting. I'm going to turn on this tea kettle, which is well over 800 watts, 832 watts. Watch the power output on this thing. Running about 63 dBs with both this and that thing on. when it's hitting overload. But I don't know if you noticed the panel, the output wattage of this thing was well over 700 watts. It was running 730, 740 watts for a while, and then it finally kicked off. The reason why is that this is actually a 800 watt inverter in it, same as the EB70. So it's an 800 watt inverter, but it can't do the 800 watts consistently. So I think on the PS72, which is the same inverter as the EB70S, they corrected the output of the inverter back down to 700 watts. So although this is a 700 watt inverter, it could actually do a little bit more than that for a while. So it's stronger than a typical 700 watt inverter, which will just give up the ghost as soon as it hits 700 watts. This one could go a little bit above that and sustain it for a while. Another thing about the Bluetti, go to YouTube, Bluetti factory tour, and you can see that Bluetti actually makes the product, and you can see how extensive the testing process is on getting this thing to your doorstep. It's quite amazing. So, take a look at that also. So let me just kick off that overload button. Now, you could go into the setting mode on this. You see the eco button there? That'll turn off the unit if on AC, if it's seeing less than 10 watts, it shut down the battery after 4 hours. And on DC, I believe it's 1 watt. If you got 1 watt or less, it'll shut down the battery after 4 hours to conserve battery on this. Now, you could turn off eco mode as you get into the setting menu, which is just by holding these two buttons down at the same time. And there you could change your frequency, and you could turn off your eco mode on and off. So that's how you get into settings. Just press these two buttons down and hold it down, and you could change your frequency, and you could turn on and off the eco mode. Leave it on so it doesn't hurt. Oh, I want to change this to 60 hertz again. Let's turn this thing on one more time. Turn on the tea kettle. Power on. Both units are on. 64 dBs. 6 feet away. 50. And it hit the 800 watts and it went to overload. So that concludes my testing on this thing. This thing is actually a pretty good unit. For me, it's going to handle everything that I'm going to ask for it. Okay, now for an easy test, we have one of these mini waffle makers. This is crown full. And it's 350 watts. So what we'll do is that we'll turn this thing on. Let's turn this thing on. Let's see what's going to happen here. It's 255 watts. It's heating up. Fan hasn't kicked on yet. We'll give it a minute or so and see what happens. I do wish that we could set that timeout limit, because I doubt if this display takes that much juice. And talking about the display, it's nice and bright. As you can see, it's not the dim LCD screens I see on other units. However, it's kind of limited. It only gives you a breakdown of charge in 20% increments. I wish it gives you like state of charge, how many hours left before depletion, depending on what you have plugged into it, and percentage left rather than going down in 20% increment. I guess after a while you get used to knowing how much longer you have, but you just starting out, it's kind of rough. Now while this thing is counting, I'm waiting for the fans to kick on this thing, but I just want to bring up this one here. As you can see, it's 700 watts inverter, and actually it's higher than that as I showed you, 537 watt hours. Now that can be kind of deceiving. Battery capacity itself is 537 watt hours, but by the time you add in the inverters, your electronic circuitry, your microprocessors, it's going to chop down that 537 watt hours. Also, the manufacturer has right around 5 to 10% safety zone with the battery. So they don't want you to run down these batteries to completely zero. So this is like a little fudge factor, 5 to 10%. I'm not too sure what the Bluetti is, but that tells you that you're not going to get the full 537 watt hours. Now, I've seen a test on YouTube where they did a dump load voltage of this unit, and it went down to about 430 watt hours. But that's a dump load on it, which is kind of strenuous. That means you're running at full capacity. But that's at 80%, which isn't too bad. Now, another YouTuber, he did a more realistic one, which is a 100 watt load. And because these are in watt hours, and they go by 100 watt hours. So this is like 5.37 hours. Well, he did a 100 watt load on it, and he just kept it on until he's seen how long it took for it to shut down. And it actually shut down at 480 watt hours. So that's about 87 efficiency on DC and 89% efficiency on AC, so a little bit on the AC. So they actually, it's not too bad. We're talking about what, 11-12% decrease in voltage in watt hours, which isn't bad. It's only like 11% or so. And like I says, remember, 5 to 10% is just on manufacturers creating a safety zone. So efficiency on this unit is pretty good. So worst case, you can get the 4.3 hours on it. Realistic world, you'll be getting close to 5 hours. So just want to bring that up. You can see this thing is cycling on and off. And let's see what this thing's doing. Right now it's off because it's at its temperature. Let me open this thing up and cool it down a bit. For the light to kick back on here. It's not drawing no power because it's shut down because of the thermostat in this thing. Man, the fan has yet to kick on, so. You want to keep these lights off if you're not using the DC or the AC circuitry. Okay, kick back on, you see that? So 357 watts. Still drawing quite a bit of power here. Lights back on. So fan still hasn't kicked on yet, so we're pulling pretty good power out of it. It's been about several minutes now and fan has yet to kick on, which is pretty good. We'll give it another 5 minutes and see what happens. Okay, so the fan hasn't kicked on yet, so it's it's been about a good 5 minutes. It's kind of interesting. So right now, it looks like we're at 60%, so let's give it a little boost here. Oh, the fan just kicked on. So the brick kicked on. Let's plug this thing in. We're starting to charge up the unit now. That's pretty good. This brick actually does charge to over 200 watts. So I think it's like about 211, so it's 25.4 watts I told you and 8 amps. So multiply that up and you're going to get the amount of wattage that this thing is able to put out. And it's doing its full wattage output. So that's my testing for my usage. Your usage may be considerably different, but this little unit is working out for me. Now I had a chance of picking up PS72, which is the same unit, but the battery capacity has gone up from 537 to 717. So, good healthy 25 to 30% extra battery capacity. But in my case, I don't need it. If you do a lot of camping or RVing, you may want the extra capacity for the extra $60. But for me, this is going to work out just fine for my usage. So. Okay, so it's been about an hour and a half. We're probably in our last 10% of charging. So it's been pretty fast. You can see we start out about 211 watts, 215 watts actually max on the brick. And since it's going down to the last 10%, we can see that input is just starting to get less and less. So we went from 215 watts, we're down to right now 169 watts. So we can see it keep dropping. When it reaches the last 100% of charge, usually the charger will start dropping its wattage because you don't want to go full blast into 100%. That again is not good for the battery. So we can see it starting to decrease its power, and so we're probably getting pretty close to being maximum full. So we're about 5 minutes shy of an hour and a half. So hour and a half time to charge from 60 to 100%. We saw live when it went down to 60% and then go from 60 to 100% in about an hour and a half. That's not too shabby. Let's see, it's been exactly 1.5 hours. Yep, it's shut down, 100% complete, like it says. Unfortunately, you can see the AC power just keeps running. It's nice if it shuts down. I mean, it's not that hard to do. Figure out the software for that. So it's nighttime, pretty dark in here. So let me turn on this light. Yep, that's low, high. There's a little bit difference, not a great difference, but you can see it does light up pretty good area. This is better than the flashlight type that's just got the little light that just shoots a beam out. This will give you diffused light, so it covers a wide area and you can see what you're doing, and you could probably, you got enough light to be able to read, so that's not a problem at all. Oh, you know what? Just for fun, I got my cell phone with me, so let's turn this on. Now, in order to use the wireless charger, you have to turn on the DC power naturally. And here's my cell phone. Let's just grab this thing and let's see what it does. Yep, I just set it, started charging instantly. I hope you guys saw that. So, not too bad. I mean, some of these wireless charging, they're kind of finicky. This one here, I just throw down there and it looks like it's doing its job. Well, it's too bad that AC adapter runs constantly, even when this Bluetti is fully charged, but I guess that's the way it is. We have to live with it. But it's not that loud anyway, it's just white noise. So this is the flow charger we'll be using for flow charging our tractor and generator. It's only 2 amps, so it's got enough power to charge up the battery when it needs to, but not enough to draw a lot of current when it's just maintaining. So this battery is about 50% dead, and we'll plug it into the Bluetti and see how much power it's going to be drawing when the battery is dead. Turn this thing on. Okay, flow charger is amber. That means it's charging. So it's probably pulling, as much power as it can from this into the battery. So we're looking at about 35 watts here. It's pulling 35 watts when it's pulling in a fully discharged battery. But in real life, once the generator is running and the tractor is running, they'll be charging up the battery. 35 watts it is. Next, we're going to plug this into a battery that's flow charging and slight discharge. So it's going to bring up the charge to a flow charging state, and we're going to see what that looks like, how many watts that's going to be drawing. So that's our next one. Okay, for this next section, we can see that this thing is flow charging, and it's flow charging a car. And what I'll do is that we'll disconnect it, and then we'll take this and plug it into the Bluetti. Turn it on. Okay. You see it's charging right now. There's flow charging before, but it's charging now because we unplugged it. So it's pulling 11 watts. So as the flow charger goes down, as the battery voltage goes down and the flow charger kicks on, during the time that the battery voltage goes down, the flow charger is going to just charge up the battery to get to the voltage before it goes back in standby mode. We can see it's taking 13 watts. So that's a pretty good reference. So if we have our batteries on flow charging, naturally once it goes flow charging, it'll be 0 wattage. And as the charge level drops on the battery, then the charge is going to kick on, and then we can see the wattage go up to about 11 watts. And then as the battery gets charged up to full level again, it's going to start dropping down, and we can see the wattage is dropping down, and eventually it drop down to 0, and then the charger will go into flow charging. So this is give you the worst case, So we're talking about 33 to 35 watts if the battery is dead. This flow charger, it goes down to 0 watts if it's on flow charging, and if it's bringing up the battery charge from a slight discharge up to flow charging level, it's only taking 11 watts maximum, and now with 0 wattage because we're flow charging. So that's a pretty good indication of how I'll be using this solar generator. But there's other use for it too. So if we were to have a prolonged outage at the house, naturally I can hook up the generator and powering the circuits of the house, but I can also use this guy to power up the sensitive electronics like laptops, router, modems, charge up the phones, charge up the other items that DC related, and then we're pretty much good to go. And then when this battery depletes, let's say it's a outage that's going to take many days, then we can use the generator to charge us up to 100%, and that will only take a couple of hours at the most, and then we can start doing our DC charging again. So I hope you found this video informative. Please click the like button. When you have a chance, please subscribe. Thank you for watching.